Welcome back, everybody. This is the Thanksgiving edition of the Cash Process. I'm your host, AC, with DFS Karma and BetKarma.com. I have my co-host and co-captain, Ben Hostler. We're going to talk everything the Thanksgiving slate. Don't worry, folks. We're not going to keep you too long, probably like a 20, 25-minute pod here. We will get one out for the main slate coming up on Sunday as well, but I know Thanksgiving's a fun slate. We also will tweak it just a touch for this one. We won't just necessarily completely focus on, the value cash route. Of course, we will for you cash game grinders out there, but we'll kind of talk a little bit of leverage. I mean, it's Thanksgiving slate. You're going to have a couple lineups out there anyways. Everybody's going to be sweating. And frankly, it's one of the best slates of the entire year for any sport to be crushing Thanksgiving food, chilling with the family, and just honestly having multiple horses in the race, I guess, pun intended, right, Ben? So we'll talk about a few leverage spots for your 3-max entry style type tournament builds this week. Real quick, some housekeeping. As always, every week, DFSKarma.com is where, most of our free content goes, really for all sports. Obviously, we're talking football. Same thing with BetKarma.com. We have a lot of the prop simulation stuff going on over there, expert bets, as well as some of the other products and offerings that are coming live to BetKarma.com. But DFSKarma.com, there's a special this week. Ben, if you want to talk about that, it's really easy to join our community for all you hashtag freeloaders out there, which we love y'all. But we got a lot going on product-wise at Karma. A lot of cool stuff happening. And Black Friday, just keep your eyes peeled for the Twitter account or Instagram account. We're going to run probably our biggest discount on any package offering for about 72 hours is my guess. Coming up this weekend, obviously. So stay tuned for that. So I think it's a really great time to take advantage of, the NBA early season, which is coming out, as well as obviously NFL, the optimizer, core plays, expert picks, and a number of other things that you can access finally if you've been hashtag freeloading off YouTube for a number of years. So Ben, let's start off and talk about that Thanksgiving little promo thing, and then B, how did your slate go last week, DraftKings style? I want to talk about something you did. It's not that it didn't work out, but I really love your process. I did it a couple times earlier this year, so I want you to talk about that as well. And then, of course, we will get into everything Thanksgiving slate-wise.
Yeah, so a couple people reached out to me about this earlier on in the year. Everyone knows I love Thanksgiving football. It's my favorite DFS slate of the year. I like it even more than Christmas NBA. I love this slate. So you are able to get access to my core plays, Anthony's, Bales, Sam, Joey, Matt, everyone, all of our analysts, our core plays, and you also get the prop bets as well, which I know last year on Thanksgiving, our community did really well with the props as well. You're able to get access to all that for only $5 for the Thanksgiving slate. So you can go to the website dfskarma.com/shop and you can purchase that for only $5. I mean, that's the best deal going right now. Anyone watching this should consider picking that up if you're planning on playing DFS or Monkey Knife Fight or Prize Picks, anything like that on the Thursday slate. But yeah, I'm ready for this Thursday slate, man. I got absolutely dusted yesterday. Wasn't so much that I played PJ Walker over Taysom Hill that killed me. Just literally no one else on my team did anything other than Dalvin Cook. I just had a bad week. I don't know. Nobody did anything. I did late swap though, which is what you were talking about, and this is something people don't take advantage of because it could have helped me a lot. I don't know if it would have helped me caching if I needed some other things to go right, but if you aren't doing this, then you're just making a mistake. So I had Kalen Ballage and Amari Cooper in the later games. So I moved Ballage to Aaron Jones. I knew Ballage was going to be really high owned. So I moved him to Aaron Jones, who was going to be low owned, and then I had to move Amari Cooper down. But it's worth it. Like when you don't have some of the chalk that went off early on in the day, it's worth it to late swap and try and make up those points because the way you're looking at it is you're going to lose anyways, right? So it doesn't matter how many points you score if you're going to lose regardless. So at least if you late swap, anything can happen. Like Ballage, like in that first series, got hurt, and I was like, dude, oh my god, this might actually help me a little bit, but it didn't end up mattering. But it is the correct process. So late swap is something, even in tournaments, you should take advantage of that. Even if you're doing good, like on this Thanksgiving slate, if you're winning a lot of money, you got to be paying attention to the people that are in front of you, who they have left, and it could be worthwhile to late swap onto someone else if a lot of people in front of you have the same person.
To piggyback off that real quick, another key thing that people just don't think about regarding late swap is always quadruple check. Hey, I've made the mistake multiple times in the past. Make sure that your flex position, if possible, unless you're playing 3 running backs at 1 o'clock, then of course it does not matter. If you have any running backs that you're playing at 4 o'clock or 4 wide receivers, you got to have one of them in that flex at 4:05. Again, just a simple thing that not too many people talk about, and it can make a huge difference. I mean, Ben, because the cash lines were low in GPPs and cash games, honestly, if Balaj didn't come back in the game, you probably would have been right there. You probably would have cashed. So these, certain things can make a difference in the grand scheme of things. So that's that. Real quick on me. Yeah, I had another unbelievable week. I keep saying it like it's about to end at some point. I mean, I'm having a really good year, man. I started off in the hole pretty big on DraftKings, if you remember, 3 straight losses. And we said just pun intended, just keep sticking to the process. And I've only had 1 loss since on DraftKings. It's been the best year of my life, really in all DFS, but in specific NFL as well. And, I kind of keep playing a quick strategy. Again, you can just, go to the core plays, reverse engineer what I played for anyone who's a subscriber, but I'll talk about it real quick. I continue to look for the guys that I like with the highest ceiling opportunities. I mean, of course, I'm filtering through our content, but I'm going through our projections portal, which is free for hashtag all you freeloaders out there. It's a live portal that really updates in real time. I check out projected ownerships and stuff for tournaments, but in specific, I love going through that portal, obviously to check the projections, which is what we all love in our industry. But I like filtering things. I like looking at the value. I'm a firm believer in Sam, who runs these projections, that they are one of the best in the industry. So I like to find, in certain situations, the top floor players. We're talking about like running backs in certain situations. Like, for example, Gio Bernard didn't crush value or anything, but I actually liked him. He was lower owned than I thought. He was popping in our projections portal. Again, it just certain guys and certain slates like Balaj, you talked about, Ben, value, but in specific, I'm really looking and filtering things these days. In the last probably year and a half of NFL DFS and cash games, I'm looking for more ceiling players. And if you look, Adams and Keenan Allen were right there, one again, 1 and 2, just like the last couple of slates that they were on together. And I feel like I'm not doing really much of anything different other than trying to really go through these numbers. Again, the projections portal is under the NFL tab at dfskarma.com. It's free. So go check it out. It's a good way to build lineups. Got really close to taking down in single entry GPPs with my core play that, was provided for the subscribers as well. I ended up I'm looking right now at 12th place in the big luxury box. And I was right there, man. I mean, I needed Green Bay to not fumble early in overtime. And I was looking at the top 5 finish, but I digress. Let's get on to Thanksgiving, man. One of the funnest slates of the year. Quarterback, who are we looking at this week, Ben? Thanksgiving slate. Let's talk again. Cash game quickly on your end. I'll agree to disagree, and then I'll give you like a leverage spot, and you can do the same thing, and we'll go through each position by position quickly.
Yeah, interesting quarterback slate. Watson had an incredible game yesterday, 34 DraftKings points, absolutely destroyed the Patriots. Any chance of me playing him went out the window when Larry Tunsil was ruled out. But, goes to show the Patriots defense is not what it has been in years past, and he had a huge game. So Tunsil, whether or not he plays, I don't think will matter in this spot either. It didn't yesterday. The Lions have literally zero pass rush. They're not able to get any pressure on opposing quarterbacks. I played PJ Walker in his first NFL start against them yesterday. I will have no problems playing Watson against them. I think he will be far and away the highest owned quarterback on the slate, and he is the best play. Lamar. So we have this weird situation with the Ravens where multiple running backs, Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins, tested positive for COVID, so they're not going to be playing in this game. I do think that will allow the Ravens to lean on Lamar in the run game a little bit more heavily. They're in kind of do or die mode. They need a big game. They need to win this game. This is a must win for the Ravens. I like the Ravens to win this game, and I think that it's going to come on the back of Lamar if they do win it. Like he has to ball out in this game. So I think he's the only one that can rival the ceiling of Watson on this slate. Ben would need to throw 5 or 6 touchdowns to match them. Like if we have a situation where all these quarterbacks hit their ceiling, right? Ben is going to hit his ceiling by throwing 5 or 6 touchdowns, right? Whereas Watson and Lamar can run a touchdown in or something to really boost them. So I think really those are the 2 quarterbacks I like on this slate. You could talk me into, like a Stafford if Galladay plays, or Andy Dalton. Like they're cheap. You could talk me into it, but Lamar and Watson are the clear quarterbacks on the slate for me. Like I'm just gonna be playing those 2 guys.
Yeah, I mean, again, if we're talking cash games, obviously, I totally agree. I'm not even really going to add anything or subtract anything because it's Monday, and that's where probably I would say most people are going to go in cash games. Again, I think cash games are a little weird this week. I don't even see anything on DraftKings. I'm sure they'll appear, especially the single entry stuff. I can't stress it enough. This is an awesome week yet again. Played 3 max entry stuff, so really, real quickly. You got to get exposure to Stafford. You probably need to consider Big Ben and even Andy Dalton probably in the 3 max entry setup. You want your Lamar and Watson and obviously potentially Stafford exposure, but those other 3 are going to be great routes in tournaments. All right, let's go to running back Ben. Why don't you address the Baltimore situation again quickly, and then where are you leaning in cash games to start?
Yeah, so like I said, Dobbins, Ingram both not going to play in this game. So that gives us Gus Edwards going to be the RB1. He's min price on DraftKings. He's 5,200 on FanDuel. Really tough not to play him. Like in cash, you're playing him. Even in tournaments, tough not to play him at his price. Like Steelers' run defense hasn't been as good with Devin Bush, linebacker, out. And he's, just cheap. Like it's tough for him not to hit value. Doesn't have a ton of pass catching upside though. So we'll wait and see, later on the week what we want to do in tournaments there. They do have Justice Hill, who hasn't really been on the field this year. I'm sure he will mix in a little bit. But yeah, so that adds some, just we know where everyone's going to go, right? They're going to plug Edwards in on their first look. But yeah, there's some decent running back plays in the slate. Zeke, 6,800, first 100-yard game yesterday of the season for Zeke. Tough matchup on paper against Washington. Big mismatch there between Washington's D-line and Dallas's O-line. And Washington's been good against running backs. So I don't want to call Zeke a must-play, but he will certainly be really high owned. Swift, we don't know if he's going to play. Obviously had that concussion and missed yesterday's game. If he's in, he's a stone lock for me. Houston's given up the second most fantasy points to running backs. They've given up the most rushing yards, and they've given up 12 rushing touchdowns. So if Swift is in, the last time he played, obviously over 70% of the snaps, like they kind of unleashed him. So I'll be playing Swift if he's in. And then you have Connor and Gibson. Gibson, I really like for leverage. I don't know if he'll be super high owned. Connor, I don't like to play because they like to mix these other guys in. But if Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams are out for Baltimore, we'll definitely consider Connor a little bit. I don't think Gibson will probably be higher than Connor. I don't know if people will play Connor. But if the Baltimore D-line guys are injured again, I would be more interested in Connor for sure.
Yeah, this slate I can already tell you is going to be extremely chalky in cash games. I mean, we're going to come to the same conclusion, probably thesis-wise, and the same route to go that I'm sure a lot of other people will go, and that's totally fine. But Swift's an absolute lock. I mean, honestly, I would almost consider going overweight to Swift. He's going to play, right? I mean,
Hopefully
even
he
in
does.
tournaments.
Hopefully he does.
There's the whole, but it's AP on Thanksgiving narrative. Is he 4,000? Hold on. He's 4,700. I mean, so it's even a different story. I don't even know if I buy it, to be honest, because they played on Sunday. There's travel, right? I just don't know necessarily if I buy AP, old man AP on a short week. If anything, maybe Kerryon Johnson is a pivot there. But Swift, if he plays, I think it's all systems go. I think you almost need to, in 3 max entry, honestly consider him in all 3 lineups. Elliott's interesting because, of course, you're playing him in cash games. That is a lock. I know you mentioned a little hesitation there, but that's a lock. Pollard just continues to play well, though. So in a 3 max entry this week, maybe you have the Swift Pollard combo, right? So that's probably interesting. And then Gus, yeah, we're playing Gus the Bus in cash games. Now, even in your second lineup, you're making in tournaments. I'm thinking Lamar. I'm assuming we'll play Mark Andrews in cash, but Hollywood Brown, it did nothing again last week. Again, you can get interesting in your leverage lineup. Just don't play Gus with your Lamar stack. So, out of these three lineups, Ben, one of them should probably be cashing, obviously, theoretically. And, if it's a day where cash is barely cashing, maybe two of those three could spike. So that's that. I mean, Duke, is anybody going back to the Duke narrative? I mean, the guy hasn't done anything, but this obviously is the week, on paper
Yeah.
wise. I mean, Duke should.
Detroit's
should.
just as bad. Detroit's just as bad as Houston run defense wise. They've given up a good amount of receiving touchdowns, I think, to running backs as well. So interesting shot for Duke. Don't think anyone will play him after his last couple games. So it is interesting leverage on a smaller slate. Yeah.
Duke is an easy play. In one of your main, if you're making two
Yeah, especially
rosters, two tournaments,
factor in
gotta play Duke.
if we think Houston's passing game is going to be like the stone chalk on the slate, like just literally plugging in Duke in one lineup and fading that would be interesting, I guess.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Wide receiver.
Yeah, so Terry didn't practice on Monday, so we'll have to wait and see if he gets back there. I think he should be good to go. I really want him to play because do you think anyone, not anyone, because it's a 3-game slate, so he's going to get ownership, but do you think the majority of people will spend 7K on McLaurin on this slate? Because I think I really want to play him again. He didn't have a huge game yesterday, but really, again, just didn't score a touchdown. He had 5 for 84, I think, was his line. So still did really good. Still up there, top 3 in air yard share in the entire NFL. Dallas has given up the second most fantasy points to wide receivers. Had a really good game against them in their first matchup this season. So I think Terry's a really good play. I think Will Fuller is a really good play as well, obviously. I think that my first look at the slate was to just double stack Deshaun Watson with Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller. I think that'll end up being a pretty popular move, honestly. But I do like Terry. I'm interested in your thoughts on him.
Yeah, actually, I'm a little surprised you're not more on him. I mean, to me, Terry McLaurin is like looking at that Keenan Allen and Devontae. Like, I'm just playing him, and I already know when the projections portal comes out, he'll be up top of the ceiling for wide receivers. I'm trying to look for the ceiling again, players, especially at wide receiver, and I'm willing to always have a sacrificial lamb, one or two of them in my lineup. Like last week was Logan Thomas and Sims or Mims, excuse me, and we talked about it actually in Discord and on the live stream, Mims regarding like you can kind of always find a guy that is 3,200, 3,500, and just toss him in your lineup. And even if he gets 70 yards like he got, it's like, damn, they're still outperforming a lot of these guys in the mid tier. So I think wide receiver is how you're going to win a tournament this week, but also probably cash and cash games. I mean, I think Galladay, I can look more into his information, but that to me is obviously the interesting thing because you're probably going to end up, depending on the salary, probably not playing Galladay in cash games if you do play McLaurin. But I think McLaurin's upside is just ridiculous. And you know me, I'm a sucker for the dome games, the freaking Coors Field effects, like McLaurin on turf. Yeah, that's probably something I'm definitely interested in on Thanksgiving as well.
Yeah, Galladay will be interesting if he plays. I'm assuming people will want to fade him because of just he hasn't played, So that could definitely be an interesting spot. And then we have the Steelers guys and the Cowboys guys. I mean, we gotta talk about these guys. So Deontay,
Yeah,
again, just smashed yesterday. This dude's just a beast. If you take out the games where he left injured, he has a third of the Steelers' target percentage. So I mean, he's just dominating the looks from Ben when he's in. Claypool is still very much a thing as well. Like this guy just scores touchdowns, right? So I'm assuming like Deontay will get some ownership. People will probably want to play Claypool. The Dallas guys are much cheaper, 57 and 54. CeeDee Lamb had that crazy catch yesterday. I mean, Amari's clearly been Dalton's favorite target, but they've been looking to CeeDee a lot in the red zone. So I think like those are going to be interesting plays that we're going to have to sort through, right? Like picking one of those guys right from one of those teams could be a big edge.
Yeah, for sure. And those are the type of guys that are going to win or lose you your tournament rosters as well. Like you're going to have to play the Juju over the frickin', especially with the Q. I'm looking right now. He's got a Q. It's Monday. It's DraftKings. He'll have a Q even if he's playing 100%, on Thursday. So I can already tell that Juju, even though he's cheaper, will be the lowest owned of the group. CD, people are suckers for, what's on Sports Center and stuff. So CD is going to be the most popular. Cooper will definitely be the leverage play, so to speak, this week. But I don't think any of these guys are necessarily truly a must in cash games. Again, for me, it's kind of like I'm already zoning in on McLaurin. So I'm already Xing out like my top end guy. Now, I think what I'm probably going to do is, obviously stay tuned in Discord and content and all that for updates on stuff. But real quick, Kiki Kuti, is he going to be a thing this week? Like cash playable because didn't we lose Randall Cobb? I mean, I would consider punting him as like my mims this week and then just seeing how the rest of my salary plays out.
Yeah, so Kuti did score yesterday. I think it was his only catch. But yeah, Cobb is not going to play in this game, so he is probably going to be a thing. They do still have Kenny Stills, who was banged up as well. So like if Stills is out too, Kuti would definitely be a thing. We'll just have to wait and see. But my only thing is I don't know if I need like the salary, Like there's no one to me like early look at building my team. You can literally play whoever you want. There's no salary on DraftKings.
Yeah.
Anybody you want, you play them. So I don't know if I really need someone that's 3,400. So we'll just have to wait and
Well,
see. I
you
don't know.
know, you know me though. Just like Sam and you troll me. I always got to find my random one-off guy that's 5% owned in cash games, and it just changed
Well,
my
I
whole
think
lineup. And then the
I
rest of my
think
lineup's
you
like
you
soft.
kind of you kind of nailed that guy before we got on here when you were talking about Willie Snead, who I think is an interesting play, honestly.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I mean, Pittsburgh, I can't keep up with everything these days. I mean, obviously, you guys are in the trenches more than me, but the one thing just being in the AFC North here, which is just a reoccurring trend with the Steelers, I'm trying to pull something up, but they do funnel to the middle of the field. It's kind of like the joke with the Browns and the tight end. And I don't know, man. I just feel like Willie Snead is probably like the optimal play for the Ravens in the passing game. I mean, it is early. It's Monday right now. I'm not going to make a definition like lock play, but if he's not in my cash games, Willie Snead will be definitely in one of my main tournament rosters this week, pairing up with Lamar. Nice price too at 4,300, and that they just funnel to the middle of the field. I just think he would be the guy.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to attack them in the slot, but I mean, look at so he had a big game against them. They played in week 8. He had 5 for 106. But if you look at his last 4 games, 7 targets, 4 targets, 7 targets, 7 targets, right? So he's got 7
Wow,
targets in 3 of his last 4 and
it's
he's
actually surprising.
4,300. Yeah, I would not have guessed that. Like if you would have asked me before, I would not have guessed that he had 7 targets in 3 of his last 4.
Yeah, I actually got suckered into playing Hollywood, and I think you had him as your cover boy, by the way.
I
So
did.
it's
I
probably
did.
you
I
trolling
was
me.
super. Dude, Hollywood's in play on this slate too, man. Going back to it,
I know.
but dude, I don't know. There's just something going on there.
Yeah, I just don't think he's that. I mean, he's elite, fast, blah blah blah, that jazz, and I don't know. I mean, jury's out on him. But yeah, anything else at wide receiver? I do think you hit the nail on the head with Pittsburgh and Dallas. Like, end of the day, your combo has to be right with those guys. I think that's what the entire slate comes down to. I don't think it matters for cash games right now between those guys, but I think tournaments, you got to get those guys right, in my opinion. That's
Yep.
where I'm at.
Okay. Before we move to tight end, gun to your head. You can make one team on Thanksgiving. You can only make one team. Are you playing Cooks and Fuller both with Watson in that team?
Mm, Probably not. Ah,
Okay, because my only point is
man,
Cooks
probably
is going to be
not.
mega
Probably
chalk, dude. Cooks is going to be
not.
extremely chalky. He's 5,300. He went 4 for 85 last week. So he went 4 for 85 last week and had a touchdown called back, okay? So I don't know why he's 5,300. Like every single person that plays DFS is going to play Brandon Cooks.
So what do we? I mean, I guess we're giving up McLaren then, right? I mean, what are
I,
you
th- I
trying to
think
say here on
you
that?
could play all three. Like you could play McLaurin, Will Fuller, and Cooks, and then you either can play 4 wide receivers or you have to sacrifice one of the Cowboys guys or the Steelers guys. But I think four
To your
Y, I
point,
think four WRs is definitely in play on the slate.
yeah, I mean, to your point, that's kind of why I was gravitating. I always tend to go with the weird cheapo guy, even though he's probably not good, like Kiki or Kenny Stills. I'll probably go that way if I do go the double. But of course, to your point, because Cooks will be more popular, I will go just the Will Fuller, I guess, and the other if it's a Stafford stack coming back. But yeah, you got to get exposure. That's what I'm saying. Like you can't not play three lineups on this slate, or you will literally die a slow death, in my opinion, because these cash game rosters are going to be very similar this week, in my opinion. So you got to almost like hope that like some of the cash guys kind of tank and like you win in your tournament routes. All right, let's go to tight end. Just guessing, Mark Andrews might be mega popular, but I don't know. I mean, 5,200 seems pretty cheap, especially with pricing the way it is this week. Um, you know, TJ Hawkinson let people down. They won't go back there, at least in cash games. I don't know. I mean, he's an elite tournament play, but there's
Yeah,
nobody else.
yeah. This is an ugly tight end slate. No Jesper Horsted from last Thanksgiving, which was just the greatest thing of all time. But I don't know. The Steelers have just erased tight ends this year. I mean, they have literally taken tight ends out of games. I don't want to pay, not to pay for him because you can play whoever you want. But if Mark Andrews is projecting for like the highest ownership on the slate, I'm just not gonna play him. I don't think he's that good of a play. If he's the highest owned guy, so we'll have to wait and see ownership later on in the week. I actually like Eric Ebron in this same game. So the Ravens have given up the 10th most receptions to tight ends this year, which is the highest mark on the slate out of all these teams. And Ebron is just like the guy that trolls and can get a touchdown, right? Like he's actually been pretty solid. He's going to have a defined red zone role, and I think that he's obviously affordable. You could play anybody on the slate, but I think in that same game, I actually like Ebron a lot. And that's a way to get
Damn.
leverage off of the Steelers guys, because everyone will want to play Deontay or like Claypool or Juju, right? No one wants to play freaking Ebron.
That's a good call. I mean, again, like I said, you're in the trenches more. I mean, it makes sense. Now that you say it like that, I like Ebron, man. He's athletic. I mean, they're going to be passing enough. I mean, maybe this is the Steeler guy you get right in cash games. Like,
Yeah.
because I just don't see myself going that route. And I do feel like kind of when you asked me the gun in the head question, like I feel like a slate like this, I don't want to get too cute and play multiple guys on the same, team. I mean, if I am making a cash build, of course. So maybe it is Abron. And then maybe I do have more salary to kind of get that other, higher price wide receiver that I want. I mean, now that I'm looking at it. So yeah, I'm down with that for sure. Other than that, I mean, I can tell you from personal experience with Logan Thomas this year, it's a disaster. I mean, you can try to. I've played him so much. I mean, the guy has like 9 total points for me this entire season. But again, luckily, sometimes I've accidentally cashed because he is cheap. So if you're going at the ultimate Dalton, Cooper, Lamb stack, I mean, you're going to want besides just McLaurin. I mean, maybe McKissick or Gibson and Logan Thomas. I truly believe a game stack is how you win a tournament roster this week. I mean, you remember last year it was the quarterback for the Lions. Like I forget his nickname, but it was hilarious. It was something blowing coke, I think.
Yeah, it was
The dude was,
David
you know
Blau
about
or whatever.
Blau. Yeah, it was David Blau, but he was really blowing yay, and he like broke the slate. You remember? I mean,
Yeah,
I'll
I
never
smashed
forget.
and
But
didn't have
the
him,
only
but I just
game
remember.
nobody stacked.
Yeah, I didn't play him, and I remember I still smashed. I had Josh Allen and Cole Beasley, but I just remember tilting because that was obviously the noon game, and he was like going ham because he was like mid price or something, and I was just tilting. I was like, can't believe I didn't play this guy, but that was funny.
Well, I went back in time and talked to myself and said, I remember being at my parents saying, "Wow, don't ever forget about the games that you don't even think are going to blow up." So, just food for thought. But yeah, that's about it for tight end. Defense, I mean, I don't know, Ben.
I
Like
think I think
literally
if you
pick
if you want
one.
if you want leverage with Watson, you could consider Jordan Akins. He had a pretty
See
decent
that?
day yesterday. I mean, he's really cheap. He's athletic. Travis will like that because he went to UCF. But I think like if everyone's gonna use Cooks or whatever, like you could throw Akins in. But Ebron, I think, is my favorite tight end play right now. I think he's a really good play. But yeah, defense, I don't know. I mean, you have Dallas, who's really cheap. Like Dallas is the cheapest defense on FanDuel. I'm assuming that will be mega chalk. I think you can play Pittsburgh if you want to on DraftKings for sure.
I like it. Yeah, I really like my roster. Actually, looking at it right now. Okay. Yeah, that about does it, guys. Like I said, we'll still get the main slate podcast out to you guys this week. We have a lot going on, like always at DFS Karma, but we are running. Especially keep your eye out for this Black Friday thing. We're gonna do like a once a year sale on the website, so take advantage of it. Other than that, Ben, anything else? I think that's it.
Just $5 core plays. No reason not to pick that up. If you guys want to see what we're about, I would highly suggest it because you're never going to get it that cheap,
Yes, sir. All right. Good luck this week, guys. Talk to you.